side by side. She can watch from the parking lot. It's not her granddaughter anyway. That same night, I made a change in my $34.00 M trust. I wore the yellow dress Archibald bought me 30 years ago, hem still falling just right, though my spine quivers now. In my arms I carried a small cake I baked in our modest kitchen, the one with butter and sugar measured by heart, not by weight. My hands, though older, still know how to fold frosting evenly. I imagined Lily's eyes lighting up when she saw it. As I pulled open the car door in front of that upscale restaurant in Manhattan, the valet smiled, polite, professional. I smiled back. I believed, for a moment, that I belonged here, that I was part of the celebration. Corinne's car was parked ahead, her friends stepping out in dresses that cost more than my winter coat. I took a breath, held the cake box with both hands. A hostess led us inside. Chandeliers, champagne glasses, waiters in crisp jackets, music soft, laughter sparkling. I saw Lily over there, surrounded by friends. My heart squeezed. I stepped forward, and that is when I heard Corinne whisper sharp like a knife to the hostess. "She's not on the guest list. She can wait outside." My breath caught. The hostess looked me up and down, then motioned, "Yes, ma'am. Follow me." But follow me to where? Not to a table. To the side door. And then a uniformed man guided me, very gently, to the parking lot door. Outside, a cold wind bit at my cheeks. My hands trembled a little, but I held the cake box tight. Lily's laughter drifted through the window. I pressed my forehead against the glass, trying to feel warmth from inside. That's when a little girl, maybe 8 or 9, saw me. "Who's the old lady out there?" she asked her mother, loud enough I heard. Corinne turned and said with calm cruelty, "She can watch from the parking lot. It's not her granddaughter anyway." That was the moment something old inside me stopped trembling. The shame didn't leave, but it hardened into resolve. Her words didn't just humiliate me. They revealed her strategy, to erase me without noise, to rewrite me as someone unimportant, unremembered. But Archibald had once told me, silence is not surrender, and dignity never begs. That night, I remembered. I stood there, frozen, the cake in my arms, the cold in my bones, and the shame in my ears. My vision blurred, but something inside me did not break. If you feel justice deserves celebration, smash that hype button. Let us keep stories like this alive, echoing far, far away. Your support helps us bring understanding and love to those who deserve it. Thank you so much. Keep listening. I stayed outside for hours. I did not eat. I did not speak. I just watched balloons through the windows. I saw Lily smile wide, the cake brought out, friends singing her name. Inside, glasses clinked and names were toasted. None of them were mine. When the party ended, Lily came to the door, pink shoes tapping on the pavement. "Grandma, why didn't you sit inside?" she whispered. Corinne stood between us, hand out, holding Lily back. "Because you have to choose who belongs in the memory," she said, "and Grandma doesn't." I watched Lily nod, confused, hurt. I wrapped my arms around my cake box. Tears filled my eyes, but I swallowed them down. I turned and walked to my car. Night air felt heavy. Back in the silence of my apartment, I placed the cake in the fridge, candles unlit. I sat at the window, watching windows lit all across the city, birthdays happening everywhere, people together, and I sat alone. I called Harold Kim. His voice, aged, always calm. I said, "It is time to open what Archibald left behind." He paused, then said, "I thought you would say that." And with that, I knew I was no longer silent. When you've been loved by someone quiet and brilliant, the silence they leave behind becomes a second language. Archibald never shouted, not even when we fought. He was not a loud man, but he made things happen. We met in 1968. I was working the lunch counter at a bookstore in Queens. He came in every Thursday, ordered lemon tea, always read something thick, law usually. I didn't know who he was at first, just that he tipped well and never talked down to me. The week he finally asked me out, I had just failed my 3rd attempt at getting a library assistant job. He said, "Come anyway. I don't care what job you have, I care what stories you carry." He became a lawyer, a good one. By the time we married, he already had his own practice. I stopped working to raise Corinne. He wanted me to finish school, but there was always laundry, teething, bills, then sickness. We were happy. At least, I believed we were. Until one day, years into our marriage, I found a letter. It was from a woman in his office. Her handwriting was young, her words were careful, too careful. I never told Archibald I read it. But something between us shifted that night. Still, I stayed. Because I believed in holding families together. Because I loved him. And because Corinne, our only child, needed us whole. Archibald tried, after that. I believe he tried. He took me on trips. He gave me space in his office to study. He supported my dream of becoming a teacher, though I only got as far as tutoring children in the neighborhood. When he was diagnosed with cancer, it was me who bathed him, sat beside him, changed his dressings, not the woman in the letter. The night before he passed, he called Harold Kim to the house. I remember the smell of orange peels on the counter, his oxygen machine humming in the background. He looked me in the eyes and said, "If she ever uses your silence against you, protect yourself." I didn't understand what he meant, not yet, but Harold nodded. He handed Archibald a folder. Archibald signed, then looked at me again. "I don't know who Corinne will be without me, but if she becomes someone who forgets you, if she dishonors you in front of Lily, this document will protect what matters." It was a secret amendment to the trust, one he had kept hidden from Corinne and even our financial advisor. The terms were specific. Should Corinne ever publicly humiliate B in front of third parties, and if such humiliation is witnessed or confirmed by Lily Ramirez, then all trustee rights shall immediately revert to a neutral third-party trustee, removing Corinne's authority permanently. Harold read it aloud once more. Then Archibald added, hoarse but firm, "A woman can give birth to a child and still fail as a mother, but no child should learn cruelty from their parents. If Lily ever sees Corinne become like me, arrogant, careless, then protect her. And protect B." Archibald recorded a video that night, a message not just for me, but for Lily. It was notarized, sealed, and deposited at the bank under Harold's name. 2 copies, one on hard drive, the other on tape. I remember Archibald smiled at the end of the recording. Even as his body failed, his voice did not waver. Then he slept, and he never woke again. I wore black for a year. I wore grief for even longer. After his funeral, Corinne told me, "Dad never left you the trust out of love. He just knew you'd keep it safe. Until I needed it." I didn't argue. I let her think what she wanted. I didn't touch the trust unless it was necessary. I clipped coupons. I used public transportation. I kept birthday cards simple. I never reminded her who earned what. But I kept Harold's number. And I kept the yellow dress Archibald gave me. Now, sitting at my kitchen table, phone still warm from that call, I remembered it all. Every word Archibald said, every breath, every warning. He knew this would happen, and now it had. I had never liked computers. The blinking cursor always made me nervous, as if I were being timed. Archibald used to tease me about it, said, "You were born to write letters, not passwords." And he was right. I kept everything written in cursive. My will, my grocery lists, even my recipes. That's why I didn't notice when the emails stopped coming. For months I thought I had simply missed the login reminder, that maybe I had forgotten to update my password. When the bank portal wouldn't open, I blamed myself. Old age, I thought. Maybe I had entered it wrong. I even told myself I didn't need to log in anyway. Corinne was handling things. But Harold was thorough. When I called him after the birthday, after the parking lot, I told him, "I haven't been able to access the trust portal for months, but I thought it was just me." He grew quiet. "B," he said, "you never changed the login credentials, right?" "No," I said. "Why would I?" That was all he needed. Within days, he requested a full audit from the financial institution. Since he was still a secondary on file thanks to Archibald's arrangement, they obliged. What came back chilled me more than the birthday night ever could. The access credentials to the trust account had been changed, not just the password, but the recovery email. The new address was a close copy of mine, but with one letter added. B. Ramirez 1219 instead of B. Ramirez 119. It had been created just days before a major transfer was authorized. $1,300,000, 0 cents. Gone, labeled as an investment allocation. Destination, a private firm called Vesta Forward Inc., an LLC registered in Delaware under Corinne's married name. A PR and branding startup, according to Harold's contact. No documentation approving the transfer was attached, no signatures, no scanned authorization from me. But there was one thing, a copy of an email, supposedly from me, giving verbal consent. "Let's move forward with this," it read. "Corinne has my blessing." Harold traced the metadata. The email had originated from an IP address linked to Corinne's townhouse in Tribeca. It had been sent at 11:48 p.m., well past my bedtime. He even found the server log. The browser used was her MacBook, not mine. The language setting was British English. The bank had flagged it as suspicious, but since no one contested it at the time, it passed. But that wasn't all. A letter came in the mail 2 days later. It was a thank you note. From the restaurant where Lily's birthday had been held, addressed to Beato Sanchez. At first I thought it was a mistake, but when I opened it, there it was, a copy of the event guest list. Host, Corinne Wallace. VIP guests, Lily Ramirez, Dr. Morgan Lee, Mrs. Beato Sanchez. It wasn't my name. It had never been. My maiden name was Alvarez. My husband's name was Ramirez. I had never used Sanchez in my life. Harold reviewed it. "She listed you under a different name," he said, voice thin with fury. "You weren't invited, B, not legally. I was there." "I know," he said, "but the system doesn't. If this had gone to court and we had to verify attendance or familial connection through records, she had deliberately erased me. It was a subtle erasure, a cruel one, done in advance. Not a last-minute typo, but a premeditated decision. She knew what she was doing," Harold said. "She wanted to strip you of any claim, publicly." I didn't say much, but I remembered Archibald again, his words sharp as prophecy. If she uses your silence against you, that's what this was. Not just humiliation, not just exclusion. She was rewriting my presence in Lily's life. She was changing the paperwork. A week later, Harold received an anonymous tip via encrypted email. The subject line read, "Check the trust. She's stealing." The email contained screenshots, access logs, timestamps, data entries. Someone had been watching. Someone who knew. Harold submitted a formal inquiry to the Financial Trust Oversight Committee. He attached the logs, the forged email, and the IP traces. He requested a temporary freeze on all active trustee actions pending internal review. I sat at my table, pouring tea with hands that didn't shake anymore. "She changed my name," I whispered. "She changed more than that," Harold said. That was the moment I knew. This was no longer about a birthday party, or a cake, or a parking lot. This was war. The hardest memories are not the loud ones. They are not the ones where voices were raised or doors were slammed. They are the quiet humiliations, the ones wrapped in etiquette, in polite cruelty, in soft tones that cut like razors, the ones you replay at night, long after the house has gone still. I used to think I was imagining them, that maybe I was too sensitive, that maybe I had misunderstood. But now, sitting with Harold's report in my hands, the truth no longer wavered. I had been erased long before Corinne rewrote my name on a guest list. The first time I truly felt it was the week before her wedding. We were in the laundry room. I was steaming the gown, ivory silk, paid for with money Archibald and I had saved for years. She hadn't asked me to help. I just knew it had to be done. The bridal boutique had left it wrinkled at the hem. I remember folding the sleeves, whispering to the fabric, "Please behave. Don't crease when she walks." I was humming. Something soft from El Salvador, a lullaby my mother used to sing. Corinne walked in, phone pressed to her ear, makeup half done. She paused when she saw me. "Don't touch the veil," she said sharply. "You might burn it." I was only, "And also don't wear white to the wedding," she added, turning away. "People might get confused." I laughed awkwardly. "No one will confuse me for the bride, mija." She looked over her shoulder. "You'd be surprised how tacky people can be." I should have said something, but I swallowed it. The morning of the wedding I helped set up chairs, pinned boutonnieres. I wore a deep burgundy dress and flats. I didn't mind not being in the spotlight. I only wanted to be in one photo, just one. When the photographer came, I stood behind Lily, then only 7. I put my hand on her shoulder. The photographer raised the camera, but Corinne called out, Let's do family first, then extended family after. I froze. Family first. So I stepped back, and when they called for the next group, I was no longer in frame. Later, someone showed me the album. It was beautiful, but I was not in it. At Lily's high school graduation, I made her a shawl, pale blue with white trim, hand-crocheted, each knot made while listening to her favorite music so I could pray with intention. Corinne told me the ceremony was family-only, limited seating. I watched it live-streamed on my iPad. I saw the seats. Rows of them. I saw Morgan and Elaine and the dog groomer, but not me. Afterward, Corinne texted me a photo. Thought you'd want this, it said. Lily, holding her diploma. Behind her, Corinne beaming. And in the corner, just a flash, you could see the shawl. Folded over Lily's arm. She hadn't worn it. At Christmas parties, if Corinne had guests over, she would keep me in the back of the house. She'd say it was better that way, so I could rest. But she would lock the door from the inside so I couldn't come out unless someone came to get me. I don't want you to feel overwhelmed, she would say. Once, a guest asked, "Is your mother here?" Corinne laughed. Oh, she keeps to herself. She's a little old-fashioned. That year, I ate dinner in the laundry room. Same place where I once steamed her wedding gown, she told me once. After a charity gala where I'd accidentally mispronounced hors d'oeuvres. You were a nobody in El Salvador. Don't embarrass me in New York. I hadn't meant to. I had tried to be polished. I had studied menus, watched YouTube videos on etiquette, practiced handshakes in the mirror. But none of it ever mattered. What mattered was that I stayed in my place, quiet, grateful, invisible. But I remembered everything, and now I understood why Archibald left the trust in my hands. Why did he make Harold the gatekeeper? He knew what pride could do to a person who confused education with wisdom, and money with love. And now, with every insult replaying in my mind, I don't feel ashamed anymore. I felt purpose. I went into my closet, pulled out a small wooden box from the top shelf. Inside were letters, my teaching plans from when I tutored kids in Queens. Letters Lily had written me in crayon, a photo of Archibald holding Corinne the day she was born. At the very bottom, a note from Archibald, to the only woman I trust to remember what matters. I ran my fingers across the ink, then I called Harold. Find out who sent that anonymous email, I said, and prepare everything. He didn't ask what I meant. He already knew. There is a kind of silence that comes when a grandchild stops calling. At first, you think it is just school, then maybe a new friend, then maybe they are growing up. But eventually, silence starts to feel like exile. Lily had always visited on Thursdays. Since she was little, after school, she'd come with her backpack full of books, her hair tied in a half-messy bun, and her voice still full of questions. We'd make hot chocolate, sit at the little table near the window, and read stories together. Until one Thursday passed, then another, then a month. I texted her. No response. I called. It rang, then stopped. I asked Corinne gently, "Is Lily okay?" Corinne's answer was flat. "She's busy, college prep, dance team. She'll call when she can." She didn't. Then one day, a letter I had written weeks ago came back in the mail, returned to sender, the envelope torn, the card unopened. My hands trembled. That night I sat by the window, the same one Lily used to lean against, and whispered to the wind, "I miss you, my sweet girl." The next day, Harold called. "I have something," he said. "Something you should hear." I braced myself. But what I didn't know was that the real shock wouldn't come from Harold. It would come from Lily. It started when she came to my house unannounced. A rainy Saturday afternoon. No text, no call, just the soft knock of her hand on my back door, because she remembered the front one always sticks. She looked pale, her eyes puffy. "Hi, abuela," she said, her voice shaky. I opened my arms, and she fell into them like she was 7 years old again. We sat on the couch. I made tea. She didn't speak for a long time. I just looked around. Her eyes landed on a photo of me and Archibald, then on the half-finished scarf I'd been crocheting for her. "I found something," she said finally. Then she pulled out a phone, opened her audio recorder, hit play. It was her mother's voice, Corinne, talking on the phone. Calm, careless. "No, I'm not worried about her. She's just a maid with a dead man's money." Once this transfer goes through, we'll close the account and be done. I sat still. Lily didn't cry, but her hands clenched. She said worse things, but this was the clearest part, Lily said. I recorded it 2 nights ago. She didn't know I was in the hallway. She reached into her bag and pulled out another envelope. She also tore this, she added. I found it in the trash. It was my letter. The one I had sent weeks ago, still folded, still sealed. The card with a watercolor bird on the front, my handwriting on the back. I thought you forgot about me, she whispered. Oh no, mija, I said. Never. I never would. She cried then. Quiet tears. The kind you only let go in the arms of someone who won't judge you for them. I believed her, Lily said, when she said you were mad at me, when she said you were trying to manipulate me. She told me you were jealous, that you didn't want her to succeed. I brushed her hair back. You were just a child trying to love both sides. She looked up at me, fierce now. Not anymore. She tapped her phone again. I sent the file to Harold. He has everything. He said there's a clause in the trust that if Mom disrespected you in front of me, it activates a change in control. I finished for her. Her eyes widened. You knew? Your grandfather did, I said. He saw the beginning of who she might become. Lily took my hand. Then let's finish what he started. That night, the silence between us shattered. We spoke for hours. About her childhood, about mine, about the moments Corinne had rewritten, reshaped, replaced. I told her about Archibald's last words, about the document, about the video. She listened. Then she stood up, wiped her face, and said, Tell Harold I want to testify. The next morning, I did not sleep. My memory replayed Lily's recording. I held Lily's phone close, listening to Corinne's voice, so calm, so cruel. Then I remembered Archibald's tape, tucked away under lock, unheard for years. Harold came early before the sun had fully climbed. He carried a slim briefcase and 2 sealed envelopes. I made coffee, shakily. The light from the window dappled across Harold's face. He looked older than I remembered, but resolute. We're ready, he said. We met in his small office, where shelves sagged with law books and folders marked Simaru. He unlocked one envelope. Inside was a thumb drive labeled Archibald Ramirez Testament. He handed it to me. I inserted it into an old portable player. Archibald appeared on screen, soft living room light, books behind him. He turned to face the camera, speaking as if to a jury. The money was not for power. It was to protect B. He paused, voice heavier. When I made this trust, I saw my daughter's ambition, her glare toward success. I saw that she liked being seen. But no success should come from erasing the ones who gave you everything. If she uses your silence, Bia, if she makes you invisible, I want you to have this recording. He leaned forward. Protect Bia and protect Lily's heart. One must never confuse silence with submission. The words landed in me like bricks. I pressed a hand to my chest. Harold rewound the tape, played another piece. Corinne's words from Lily's hidden recorder. My mouth opened, my heart rising. Then Harold played the video from the parking lot. A shaky selfie video, someone holding the camera from behind a car, flash flaring, a voice saying, Look, she's out there. Can you believe they made her stand in rain just to watch cake from outside? Lily's laugh, then her gasp, crowd murmuring. It was viral, on Instagram, TikTok. Harold showed me screenshots, anger, pity, words of people demanding justice. We had proof. Harold contacted the Financial Trust Oversight Board. He presented both the tape of Archibald and Lily's recording, emails forged, the IP logs. We filed a motion to freeze Corinne's access, to suspend her trustee powers pending investigation. I sat in the room, hands clasped, knees trembling, not from fear, from anticipation, from hope. At the meeting, board members stared at Corinne. She tried to respond, lawyer beside her whispering, but she couldn't make her voice steady. Accusations of breach of fiduciary duty, fraud, forgery. The members consulted Archibald's original trust document, saw Harold's secret amendment clause, saw Corinne's name on registration under Bay Sanchez, saw that she had misused the logins. One board member, a woman, looked at me, eyes soft. Ms. Ramirez, you have done nothing wrong. It appears your rights were violated. We are compelled to act. They voted unanimously, Freeze Corinne's authority, revoke her access to bank accounts, stop any more transfers, appoint Harold or another neutral trustee to temporarily oversee the trust. Corinne's face paled. She opened her mouth, then closed it. Outside Harold's office, I saw people watching on their phones, news alerts, viral video from parking lot, lawyer reveals secret trust clause, grandmother fights back. Lily stood beside me. She squeezed my hand. "It's working, Abuela." "Yes," I whispered. But this was not victory yet. It was opening the gate. That evening, Corinne posted a statement, something about personal family dispute, about needing privacy. But the site crashed under comments, screenshots, reposts. Her public image started crumbling. By midnight, the bank had locked all affected accounts. No payments could be made. Her startup Vesta Forward Inc. emails bounced. Investors pulled support. Media outlets wrote stories questioning her integrity. I went home. The yellow dress hung in the closet. I washed my face. I didn't cry. I just felt something lift off my chest. In the living room TV, I saw Lily show Archibald's videotape on local news. Lily's voice. My grandfather saw the truth. I saw it happen. I held Lily in my arms. Our tears mingled. I whispered to her, "He knew, Mitya. He always did." And in that moment, I understood that protection does not always roar. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it waits. That night, I fell asleep with Harold's letter on the nightstand. He had written, "Trust is not about ownership, it is about responsibility." I drifted off, not as someone ignored, but as someone being heard. The morning the court date came, I dressed in my light gray suit, the one Archibald said made my eyes look soft in any light. Lily walked me to the courthouse doors. Her fingers brushed mine. I could feel her quiet strength. Inside, the courtroom felt cold. Polished wood, high windows, dozens of people, reporters with cameras. Corinne sat at the plaintiff's table, her chin up, lips tight. Her lawyer fidgeted with papers. I held nothing. No bitterness. Just a folder Harold gave me, prints, logs, recordings, Archibald's amendment. The judge took her seat. The clerk called the case. B. Ramirez versus Corinne Ramirez. Trust case number. My heart did something like dance in its cage. Corinne's voice, when asked to respond, it trembled just a little. She tried claiming, "This was miscommunication. I had temporary trustee duties. I thought I was acting for the good of the trust." Harold stood. He laid out the evidence. Forged email, IP logs, the video from the parking lot, Lily's recording of Corinne's phone call calling me a maid with dead man's money, the alteration of guest name B. Sanchez. Others called to testify. Neighbors, the host from the restaurant invited to speak on the guest list. The judge listened. Then she paused. The gallery was silent. "Corinne Ramirez," she said slowly, "you have breached fiduciary duty, committed forgery, misrepresented familial relations publicly, and misused trust funds totaling over $1 million. By virtue of the secret amendment contained in Archibald Ramirez's trust, these actions trigger automatic revocation of your trustee powers." Gasps. Corinne's lawyer opened his mouth. The judge raised a hand. "Effective immediately, you are removed from all trustee authority. All access to the trust accounts are frozen. A neutral, court-appointed trustee will assume control. You will be required to reimburse any unauthorized transactions. You will face inquiries for your misuse." Tears glistened in Corinne's eyes. Not sorrow, but something like shock. Disbelief. Outside the courtroom, reporters whispered. Flashbulbs popped. The headline writers were already composing. PR queen destroyed by her own words. $34.00. M lost to humiliation. Within hours, social media exploded. Clips of the parking lot video, Lily's phone recording, posts with captions. She called her invisible. Now the world sees her? B's Justice investors started pulling back. Corinne's company, Vesta Forward Inc., lost its lead client. Press releases canceled. Board members distanced themselves. The firm's stock fell. Deals evaporated. The house of gloss and image cracked. Corinne left the courtroom in a black coat, hood down, face pale. I watched her descend the steps as Lily and I stood on the sidewalk. Reporters clamored, asking, "What do you think?" I didn't shout. I smiled, not triumphantly, gratefully. One major investor withdrew a promised $5 million, 0 cents, in funding, citing concerns over governance and integrity. Another terminated partnership. Vesta Forward's projection for next quarter dropped by 2/3. Corinne's business was hemorrhaging. That evening, Lily posted a photo of me and her in front of the courthouse. She held my hand. Her profile caption read, "She called her invisible, now the world sees her." It was shared thousands of times. Comments came flooding, people offering support, sharing their own stories, calling B a hero. Corinne posted a statement later, short, legal, defensive. "Family matters are complicated," she wrote. "I regret that revelations caused pain, but no apology for what she said. No acknowledgement of what she did." Lily didn't speak to her mother that night. She stayed with me. We cooked dinner together in my small kitchen. I let her pick the music. We laughed like we used to. The memory of all those small humiliations, the veil, the wedding, the trimmed guest list, mingled with this moment, and in that mingling, pain turned to power. Back at home, Harold called with news. The court had ordered restitution. Corinne must repay the $1,300,000, 0 cents, plus damages to the trust. Her fees as trustee are revoked. She must publicly admit wrongdoing as part of the court order, published in local newspaper and online legal gazette. If she fails, further penalties follow. I felt light. Relief, yes, but something more. I reclaimed what Archibald built. I reclaimed dignity, respect, truth. That night I lay in bed, Lily's hand in mine. I could hear the wind outside. I could hear the city lights pulsing. Somewhere a car passed. Lily's breathing next to me. In silence, I gave thanks. For Archibald's foresight, for Lily's courage, for Harold's steadfastness. For all the voices that finally heard. And when Corinne, somewhere behind locked doors, watched the news, she saw more than headlines. She saw that silence does not hide injustice. Truth does. The building wasn't grand. No marble, no gold lettering, just a brick facade with warm windows, old elm trees out front, and a hand-painted sign. B's room, a place to read, learn, and be remembered. It was the first center of its kind, free literacy and conversation classes for elder immigrants who'd been pushed to the corners, forgotten, told they were too late for anything. But I didn't want it to be grand. I wanted it to be safe. That morning, the ribbon ceremony gathered more people than I expected. Volunteers, donors, a few councilwomen, reporters from the story still trailing me. But I wasn't nervous. Lily stood beside me in a pale blue dress. She held the scissors for the ribbon. Before she spoke, she looked at me, just for a moment, and smiled. Then she said it. She never raised her voice, but she raised me. A silence followed, not awkward, reverent. She taught me that dignity isn't loud, it's persistent, and that silence doesn't mean weakness, it means patience. She turned to me, her eyes filled with something so deep it stopped the wind. Maya Wella didn't lose her voice, she saved it. For the day the world was finally ready to listen, applause broke, gentle, squealing. Then they turned to me. I stepped up to the small wooden podium. My hands didn't shake. I unfolded a letter. It was handwritten, in English, not because I needed to prove I could, but because I chose to. My name is Bier Ramirez. I was born in El Salvador. I came to New York with a suitcase, a baby, and a heart full of apology. I spent 40 years thinking silence was protection, that if I just endured, just waited, people would see my love. I paused. But sometimes silence becomes a shadow, and if we let them, people will leave us in that shadow, while they stand in the light made from our sacrifice. A few people gasped. I was told I wasn't educated enough, that I had an accent, that I didn't belong. I was told I didn't matter, that even the granddaughter I helped raise didn't belong to me, and for a long time I believed them. I looked out. Lily wiped a tear. But let me say this clearly. I did not come here to be erased. I may not have been born in applause, but I will not die in silence. The crowd rose. They didn't cheer wildly, they stood, like in church, with respect. Afterwards, they toured the small reading room, oak shelves, soft lamps, worn dictionaries, ESL books, newspapers in Spanish, Mandarin, Vietnamese. One wall bore a quote from Archibald, "If silence ever becomes cruelty, break it." Near the window was a framed scarf, my old knitting. Below it, a plaque, "In honor of the quiet ones, who remember everything." That afternoon, my first class gathered, 5 women, all over 60. 1 from Haiti, 1 from Laos, 2 from Mexico, 1 from Bangladesh. Nervous, shy, holding pens like knives. I greeted them, "Welcome." They responded slowly, voices low. "Today," I said, "you will learn how to say your name like it is something sacred." We practiced greetings. We laughed. One cried. She hadn't spoken English aloud in 10 years. I handed her tissues. I told her it was okay. Outside the sun lowered. The elm trees cast long shadows, but the room glowed. When class ended, Lily stayed behind. She brought tea. We sat near the window. She didn't speak for a long while. Then she asked, "Do you miss her, even after everything?" I knew who she meant. I looked out. "I miss the little girl she was," I said quietly, "but not the woman she became." Lily nodded. "She still hasn't apologized," she said. I smiled, but gently. "Some people don't know how," I said. "But I'm not waiting anymore." A few minutes passed. Then Lily pulled out a small envelope. "I found this," she said. "It's from Grandpa." It was a photo. Faded. Me, Archibald, and a baby Lily in a stroller. On the back, he'd written, "Love is not volume, it is presence." I placed it on the sill. Let the sunlight catch it. Before we closed up that evening, one of the women from class came back. She brought a small bag of oranges. She pressed them into my hand. "For you, Maestra," she said. "You make me feel young again." I thanked her. She turned to leave, then paused. "You speak softly," she said, "but I hear you more than anyone." And she walked into the night. I stood in that doorway for a while. The city sounded far away. The air smelled of oranges and old paper and new hope. And for the first time in a very long time, I felt like the person I was always meant to be. Not invisible, not waiting, just me, _______. If this story moved something quiet inside you, you're not alone. Too many women like B have spent decades being spoken over, cast aside, or told to wait their turn until there's no time left. But B didn't wait. She remembered. She rose, and she reminded us all, you don't need to raise your voice to reclaim your worth. If you believe voices like B's deserve to be heard, supported, and remembered, please subscribe to Grandma True Stories. We share real stories from women who've lived through betrayal, silence, and strength, and came out the other side with something to say. Hit that subscribe button, tap the bell, and let these truths echo far beyond the porch, because when a grandma speaks, the world should listen.